Hi everyone, I'm Wade. In our previous episode, we had Alex share some of the histories between Russia and Ukraine, Putin's ambitions, and why some people have called him Bunker Grandpa. If you haven't seen it, be sure to check it out. And in this episode, we pick up our conversation about Putin and the internet.
The problem is he doesn't use internet at all, or media.
He doesn't?
Doesn't at all.
Wow.
So all his information comes in special folders.
Wow.
It's one thing, because he said somewhere because every information folder has somebody's signature, and yes. I can ask later from this person. But there was also a huge joke that over time, he was if he got the bad news, the people who were bringing this bad news, they got not demoted, but they had their harder times.
Okay.
So it shaped all the surroundings.
All the information that he's getting.
Yes.
Wow.
And also all the decisions that are made, and the most important is the TV. Some
Wow.
people believe that actually the whole propaganda machine works for one only person. The rest of the audience is the rest of the audience, but actually they need to talk to him.
Wow.
So yeah.
That is absolutely crazy.
Because if you don't have alternative sources of information, that's what happens to you. That's how you become
you're in your
authoritarian
little bubble, right?
psycho. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
Especially if you're sitting in a bunker and you use this 50 meters table.
Yeah.
You've seen these memes, right?
Yes, we saw that. You see on the news, he's over here and way over there.
So obviously he's paranoid.
So can you maybe share a little bit? You do have family in Russia,
yes.
right? And obviously, I feel like our hearts go out to you guys who are so affected directly by this. But what is it currently like for them? Can you give us a little bit of what is it like on the ground?
The middle class got all the hit.
So the civilians, unfortunately, right? On both sides. It
if
really
you got
sucks.
any savings, gone. If you had, I don't know, let's say foreign currency, you cannot withdraw it or something like that.
Yeah.
I know people from my family who are leaving the country or planning to leave the country.
Okay.
My friends, somebody who can sell the property, they're selling the property or cars or whatever to leave.
To get away.
Someone cannot, they have to stay.
Right.
Or planning in the long term. Luckily, nobody supports the war, among people I know.
Okay.
But the propaganda is crazy, which is actually interesting that over age of 50, the rate how many people supported the war is higher because of the generation of people who watch TV.
Right.
My friend, he's a grandma.
Okay.
And she got really influenced by propaganda. And, in Russian TV, Russian army is always winning, nobody is dying.
Yeah.
So she was so proud of it. So she went to bank.
Yes.
She took all her savings, US dollars that my friend exchanged for her.
Okay.
And she turned all of them into rubles.
Wow.
And, and my friend was calling, tried to do anything, he could not.
Oh no.
It's all the family was devastated.
Oh my goodness.
It's she lost half of the value overnight.
You touched on the war propaganda side. Could you talk a little bit more about that? So what are they seeing? This friend grandma, what are they seeing to justify this war?
The narrative is we had to attack them, otherwise they would attack us the next day or 2 days after, or they would get the nukes and attack us because they're all, I don't know, there is a Russophobia.
Right. And the people are buying it, right? That's the sad part.
Especially older people, or when they have no other sources of information, or they're not exposed. And also what is also very important to mention that there was a huge crackdown in Russian media for the last 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
They introduced it's called foreign agent law.
Okay.
So if you ever got any money from abroad, and it can be sometimes very tricky, your friend can put I don't know, $10 on your bank account.
And that counts as a foreign agent. Wow.
Then you go to the special list of foreign agents, especially if you are related to the media. This media, because of that, can be called a foreign agent media.
Wow.
And then they introduced the unfriendly organizations list.
Okay.
It's even worse because unfriendly organization has to be dissolved immediately.
Wow.
And that has been going for several years.
Yeah, real crackdown.
So they've been actually cracking down on media, but still under all kind of pressure. Many media still been functioning.
Yes.
Lots of bright journalists.
Independent media as well.
I'm talking, of course, about independent media.
Yeah.
And then in the end, because of the war, there is the war censorship law.
Okay.
And after that, because Russia doesn't call it a war, first of all.
Right.
They call it special operation.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you use word war,
or you can't find
up to 15 years in prison.
Wow.
So, I mean, depends, of course,
Wow.
but it's like the harshest term for
Yes.
violating this war
15
censorship law
years.
is 15 years.
Wow.
And that's how they ended up the crackdown.
Yes.
It's like they started from like just the labeling with a foreign agent. What do you mean labeling? It's like every time the media publishing anything, they should put this kind of form that these materials are made by the foreign agent, and then the material. They have to do it
They
like
have to make
that,
a disclaimer.
Yes, disclaimer,
Yeah.
right.
Wow.
And now they just like, if you use the word war, you're done. That's actually what's the difference between authoritarianism and the totalitarianism. Authoritarianism needs the kind of passive attitude.
Okay.
Because so it's like elites gonna steal everything,
Yes.
and you cannot influence the election result, and that's it. Totalitarianism, it pushes you to do stuff. You have to march, you have to
Yeah.
do the, I don't know, Nazi salute, the glories, all this, kids on a square, like
Yeah.
China, North Korea,
Right.
that's the proper description.
It's terrible.
And Russia turning to that.
Yeah.
I think Russians as a nation were like too lazy for that. So we don't have this. It works perfectly with the very young regimes. We are getting older. That's why we don't, or most likely won't have the revolution.
I
Because
see.
we don't have
Wow.
enough young people.
Wow.
And also that's another reason why
Problem.
economy will be damaged for so long time.
Yes.
Because we don't have young people to work for free, long
Yeah.
shifts, and push the economy forward.
Yeah. All right, Alex. So we talked a lot about different things and from different perspectives and just different issues that regard the war. But let's bring it more home. Let's bring it more personal to you. How does it feel to be a Russian in this day and age?
When it started, it was a huge feeling of shame, of guilt. And I logically understand that I couldn't do anything about that. But there is still this huge feeling that during all these years, I started protesting like 2011,
Yes.
so till now, and we, like as Russians, we didn't build the civil society,
Yes.
we didn't build the, the state with the rule of law, and probably that's the guilt. Not that the war started, but
Right.
that we were not the proper citizens.
Yeah.
And it took me a while to actually get used to the idea that I cannot change my identity. I cannot change where I was born. So I used my Russian passport
Wow.
as a kind of sign, as a placard for the protest. And it's an old one, so it's not a deface. I hope I won't be prosecuted for that. I have the other one. I'm legal in Taiwan, no problem. And this is the pages with the Ukrainian stamps. When I went to Ukraine, it's the Borispol airport and the border control near the Kharkov. So yeah, it says like no war. It says that Russians are against the war, and Russians don't support the war. I want to show that not all the Russians are the same, and please treat people, differently, one to another.
Yes.
I know that it's very hard during the war. I read and heard some stories that in Europe, because Europe is so close and there is like all these Ukrainian refugees and people, dead children. Of course, you have this rage because it's unjust,
Yes.
unjust, and you have to release it somewhere.
Yeah.
And obviously,
you want to point it at someone.
and
You wanna
then
hold
when you
someone
meet the
accountable.
person, you immediately unload it.
Yes.
So I'm very grateful that I'm in Taiwan. It's remote. People are very compassionate. And before I was like, really was afraid to say like who I am and like my identity, my passport. Now I actually am bringing this passport and saying, yes, I am Russian, but I don't support it. And let's do something about it together.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I hope, for peace.
Yes, very powerful. And we so appreciate you sharing your story and sharing the insights with us. And obviously we do continue to support and pray for Ukraine, as well as all the people that are affected by this Russian and the Ukrainian side, obviously. So thank you so much, Alex, for your time.
Thank you for having me here.
All right.
Thank you.